The summation of my second conversation can be brief. In it, the guy told me that he had cheated on his wife with the wife of his best friend. And now he was wondering why his kids, or his wife, or his family, or her family, or his friends, or his mistress, or her husband was not talking to him, and if they ever would again. Duh. I kept thinking about how lucky the guy was not to be married to Elin Woods, who took after Tiger with a 9-iron. Now I was flabbergasted. Absolutely, totally flabbergasted. What did the guy expect to have happen? Pats on the back all around? High fives? He asked me what I thought. And all of you who know me know the inherent danger of asking that question. So I told him. I told him that he had detonated a thermonuclear reaction and there was no turning back from the devastation. I reminded the guy who wanted a quick fix that Chernobyl happened in the mid-'80s and was still smoldering. And then I told him the absolute unvarnished truth. I told him that if he were my father and he would have done this to my mother, I would never speak to him again. Quite possibly not the best response from a pastor, and clearly not the one the guy wanted to hear, but still one I think the guy needed to hear. So you're probably thinking to yourselves right now, wow, some stories. What, are you going to preach about the text? Much as we love one of your rants, we'd love it even more if you'd talk a little about Jesus here. And if you can relate your diatribe to what happened in the River Jordan, we too might be flabbergasted. I think I can, and here's how. All of us have been flabbergasted by what could only be called man's inhumanity to man. All of us have watched people do things that are unthinkable. And all of us, because we are sinners, of whom, let there be no mistake, I am the chief in the crowd here, have moments in our lives that we look back on and just cringe. These are times, either because of our own actions or the actions of others, when we feel dirty, grimy, in need of a good scrubbing. It is then that we need to remind ourselves what it is we actually need and what we get from our baptisms. What we get is nothing less than a good scrubbing and the promise of the strengthening presence for God in anything that comes our way. None of us are the people we want to be. You have not always been the person you wanted to be, and I have not always been the person I wanted to be in my highest dreams. Our baptisms tell us not to give up striving to be better, kinder, more loving people, but that in our successes and in our failures, God is with us. That is the vertical dimension of our baptism, an ever-present reminder that we need God. But there is also a horizontal reminder as well. We need each other. When we are baptized, we become a part of a community that has yoked itself to Jesus. When Jesus was baptized in the Jordan, he stood in solidarity with all of us sinners, and so we must stand with each other. Christianity is not now, nor was it ever, a solitary faith. We need the company of others who are with us on the journey through life. I had my two flabbergasting conversations on the morning of January 6th. I felt weary, worn, sad, and a little dirty. Then 6:30 rolled around, and more people than I had expected started to arrive for our 12th night dinner. People from Parkview and St. John's feasted and had fellowship. We talked, laughed, and ate, talked and laughed and ate some more. Then we worshiped and heard the story of the three guys who went looking for something and found Jesus. They went on a journey in hope, found the hope of the world. I was feeling clean again. Not because of anything I did, but because I had been reminded in community and song and story that in my baptism I belong to God. And while there were a few people who could flabbergast me by their meanness, there are even more people, and by this I mean you, who could flabbergast me by your goodness and make me feel clean again. Why? Because I think it's because you take seriously the promises made to you by God at your baptisms, that you are one of God's beloved daughters and sons, and earnestly try to act like it. To feel clean, we need God and we need each other to help us separate what is the wheat from the chaff in our lives, to burn away all the badness, and remind ourselves that God is greater than all the evil and hurt life can throw at us. That is the promise we received at our baptisms, and one that we can receive even in the darkest hours of our darkest days. The same promise that came from the lips of God to Jesus in the waters of baptism come to us. You are my beloved son, my beloved daughter. With you, I am well pleased. Clean and shining, may we always live up to this promise. Amen.